Scientists say a single day's worth of deforestation releases as much CO2 into the atmosphere as 8 million people flying from London to New York. Deforestation is considered the hidden cause of global warming, except ironically when you look at an aerial shot and realize it's not hidden at all. It's a huge problem. I'm joined by Fabien Cousteau, grandson of famed ocean explorer Jacques Cousteau. Fabien and his family's environmental work has included a documentary about deforestation in the Amazon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You know, I know you went down yourself. We've read so much about this in science books, but you actually saw it. What did you witness? What did you see?
Wow, a lot. There's a lot of devastation. I mean, we were there with my grandfather back in the early 80s, and 25 years later we went back to compare what's changed. And unfortunately, I have to say that deforestation is a huge problem still to this day. The cattle ranches, which span an average of 40,000 hectares, or some 100,000 acres, are rampant all over the place. And we're losing about 1% of our rainforests down in the Amazon every year. It's a huge problem.
You talk about the cattle. I mean, I was down there not too long ago up in the northern part of Brazil, and what you heard is that, for example, with soybeans, China needs 34 million tons every year. And yet that means that there's more soy being grown in the north, and they push the cattle ranches closer into the Amazon. So this it's very difficult to stop this because of the economic impact.
Well, we're all responsible for this. I mean, between the soy and the sugar cane, the need for ethanol for alternative fuels, the drilling for oil, the illegal cutting down of rare species of trees, and of course the cattle, are all contributing factors to this deforestation. We're going to get to a point where in the next 20 years, where even if we stop, the forest itself is going to auto-desertify, meaning it's going to just shrink and shrink and shrink by itself.
In other words, it can't be stopped. It's actually killing the trees itself when you don't have the trees there.
There's a certain point of no return where it's auto-destructing because there's not enough humidity, because the very thin layer of topsoil is being washed away into those rivers, and nothing can grow there anymore.
You know, if you look at the numbers that I've read, is that about 1% of the trees in Amazon are being torn down every year. 1%.
That's correct. That's correct. About 1% every year on average is being cut down either for farming or for logging, and it's all due to consumption, and mostly export consumption. You know, the soy problem, for example, is the soy is being exported out to Europe for cattle feed, or here to the United States for food additives. About 60% of our food, our canned and processed foods, contain some form of soy. So it's a huge problem, and we can have a very positive impact by changing our habits and demanding different solutions to those problems.
And if you start looking at this around the world generally, I know that the amount of global greenhouse gases, 25%, 20% of the world is actually caused by deforestation. People don't understand this.
You know, there's a very real and direct impact to us. You know, when the forests shrink away, obviously it changes the climate. It tips the balance so that the oceans have to take on the extra load of CO2, which then in turn acidifies the oceans, which then in turn is not hospitable to the animals in the ocean, which we depend on for food.
It's the interconnection. You know, it's so interesting. Your grandfather was well known. We watched them years ago. In the 1970s, he predicted these kinds of things.
That is correct.
We ran behind.
Yeah, we've hit the snooze button one too many times. We've known this for decades, but now we're waking up in a panic, faced with the very real and dire reality of these problems. And we need to find economically viable solutions. But if we don't, I mean, the alternative is much worse.
Let's work on trying to fix this. Thanks so much, Fabien.
Pleasure.
And next, a Galapagos Island adventure with my kids, a family trip that became a life-changing experience.